They said the hearing would be simple. 10 minutes, 2 statements, a signature. But when you put a mother and daughter in a room where love is evidence, nothing stays simple. The courthouse smelled like dust and coffee gone cold. I wore navy, the color that tells people you came to be heard, not pitied. Marina wore white, always white, even when the story wasn't. She was already there, sitting straight, phone face down, composure rehearsed. Her lawyer, a young man who thought empathy was in his briefcase, nodded at me like I was a chapter he'd skimmed. I didn't bring a lawyer. I brought Louise, Keisha, Geneva, my circle. Women who knew how to hold silence until it worked like thunder. The judge came in, a gray man with soft eyes and an overworked patience. Guardianship petition, Carter versus Carter. He said, like it was paperwork and not a history. He looked at Marina first. Ms. Carter, please state your request. She stood, voice smooth as choir silk. Your Honor, my concern is for my mother's well-being. She's been experiencing memory lapses and fainting spells. Her doctor has recommended oversight for her finances. I've been assisting, but some issues require formal authority. He nodded. And the respondent? I stood. I'm Ethel Carter, and I'm still my own emergency contact. A whisper rippled through the back row. The judge almost smiled. Proceed. Marina's lawyer rose. Mrs. Carter, this isn't about competence. It's about care. Care, I said. Isn't that what they say before they take your keys? He blinked. Ma'am, we're simply trying to prevent future difficulties. Future's been handling herself fine. I said. She's been showing up every morning with sunlight and a cup of coffee. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Carter, perhaps you can clarify. Why do you oppose this petition? I took a breath. Because love stops being love when it needs permission slips. Because my daughter's asking the court to put a padlock on motherhood and call it safety. Marina exhaled sharply. Mama, this isn't a fight. I'm trying to help. Help is when you carry groceries, not when you forge guardianship. Her lawyer raised a hand. Your Honor, no accusations, please. I smiled. Then let's stick to observations. He cleared his throat, turned to Marina. Do you have documentation of medical concern? She handed over the letter from Dr. Shelton, the first one. Not the revised. Your Honor, this was provided prior to recent evaluations, she said quickly. But I was ready. I slid the amended version across the table. The judge read both. His brow changed shapes. Ms. Carter, he said, this newer statement contradicts your evidence. Marina's jaw tightened. That revision was influenced by accuracy, I said, and sunlight. Her eyes flared. You manipulated him. I asked him to read his own handwriting. I said, that's not manipulation, that's literacy. A few muffled laughs. The judge lifted a hand. Enough. He looked at me again. Mrs. Carter, you've made quite an impression on the record. But your daughter seems genuinely concerned. I don't doubt her concern. I said softly. I doubt her motive. Marina stepped forward, voice shaking now. You think I'm trying to hurt you? No, baby, I said. I think you're trying to erase me before I finish my sentence. The judge shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Carter, please. But the words were already out, alive and walking. Your Honor, I continued, my daughter has spent her life confusing control with care. She's not malicious. She's frightened. Frightened that love isn't proof enough unless she's the one who signs for it. Mama. Let me finish, I said. When she was 15, the world filmed her pain and called it gossip. I fought that storm with my own silence. I let people think what they wanted so she could walk into school without being followed by whispers. That silence cost me friends, community, pride, but it gave her a clean hallway. Now she's trying to give me a padded one in return. The room went quiet like someone pressed pause on the air. The judge folded his hands. Ms. Carter? Marina swallowed. She's twisting things. Am I? I asked. Or are you just remembering them differently because your version comes with better lighting? She looked at me then, not the mother she wanted, but the one she'd built her defense around. You always have to win, she said. No, I said, I just refuse to lose myself. Her lawyer leaned toward her. Ms. Carter, let's focus on the petition. But she kept her eyes on me. You never let me grow. I let you grow, baby, I just didn't let you uproot me. She blinked fast, words trembling. You don't trust me. I smiled sadly. Trust isn't a trophy. You don't win it, you maintain it. And lately, you've been under maintenance. The judge sighed. Mrs. Carter, we're not here for philosophy. We are if the philosophy determines custody of my choices. He rubbed his temple. I'll hear testimony. Geneva took the stand first. She was 72, sharp, and unafraid of microphones. I've known Ethel 30 years, she said. She remembers every birthday, every scripture, and every man who borrowed her ladder and never returned it. She don't need guardianship, she needs peace. Laughter again. The judge's lips twitched. Keisha testified next. Younger, voice like a gospel solo. Mrs. Carter helped me start my business. Helped me file taxes. She still corrects my math. If she's unfit, then I need a guardian too. Then Louise, eyes kind, hands clasped. This isn't about money, it's about history. That child loves her mama, but she wants to curate her. There's a difference. Marina's lawyer objected to emotional commentary. The judge overruled. Sometimes emotions clarify. Finally, the nurse came, small, tired, brave. She reads her prescriptions out loud to double-check me, she said, and she brings cookies for the waiting room. That's not confusion, that's contribution. When they finished, the judge leaned back, exhaled. Ms. Marina, do you have rebuttal witnesses? Marina shook her head. No, just me. Proceed. She stood. I know how this looks. Everyone sees me as the greedy daughter. But I've watched my mother fall. Forget appointments. Misplace her keys. I panicked. I didn't want her exploited. I didn't want her alone. I wanted to reach across the space between us. But there was too much furniture made of pride. She went on. You all think she's strong. But you don't see her at night, talking to Daddy's chair. You don't see how she keeps his cup washed like he'll walk in any minute. You don't see how the world keeps shrinking around her. How she's fading inside those marigolds. The courtroom softened. Even the judge's pen paused. I didn't speak until she finished. Then I stood. Your Honor, my daughter's right. I do talk to Isaiah's chair. I keep his cup clean. I water marigolds he planted. But that's not confusion, it's commitment. The living don't forget the dead, they honor them. I stepped closer, voice low, steady. And if I fade, it's because the light changed. Not because my mind did. The judge sat back, silent. Marina looked away, blinking. Her lawyer whispered something that slid right past her. After a long minute, the judge spoke. I've heard enough. This isn't a case of incapacity. It's a case of boundary. The petition is denied. Mrs. Carter retains full control of her estate. A rush of air went through the room. The sound of relief and regret meeting halfway. Marina's lips trembled. So that's it? No, baby, I said softly. That's the start. She turned toward me, eyes shining, pride leaking out. You embarrassed me. I preserved you, I said. Embarrassment fades, ownership doesn't. She shook her head, half in anger, half in awe. You'll never understand how hard it is to be your daughter. I raised you, I said. Of course I understand, but you might want to start understanding what it costs to be my mother. The room exhaled. The judge cleared his throat again. Voice gentler now. Mrs. Carter, you have your independence, but I suggest counseling, for both of you. I nodded. We've been in counseling for 30 years. Your Honor, it's called family. He smiled. Just a little. Case dismissed. Outside, the hallway air was thick with whispers. Reporters waiting. People pretending not to stare. Marina walked fast, heels clicking like punctuation. I caught up. Baby, I said, you wanted control. Now you have choice. What are you going to do with it? She stopped, shoulders stiff. Maybe nothing. Maybe breathe. That's a start, I said. We stood there, mother and daughter, two women who'd both lost the same man and found different ways to keep him. She finally said, I thought you'd hate me. I tried, I said, didn't take. Her laugh was wet and short. You're impossible. I'm inherited, I said, that's worse. We both smiled then, small, tired, but real. It wasn't peace yet, but it was proximity. That night, I sat on the porch. The marigolds glowed under the porch light like little suns refusing bedtime. I poured a cup of tea and wrote a note to Isaiah in my head. She tried to take my name, baby, but I gave her the truth instead. I didn't win, I just stayed standing till the noise stopped sounding like love. Then I heard footsteps. Marina again. She didn't speak. She just sat beside me, silent. We listened to the crickets talk about survival. For once, neither of us needed the last word. They thought the story ended with the gavel. But real endings don't sound like verdicts. They sound like women breathing again. After the hearing, the house felt different. Not quieter, lighter. The kind of quiet that hums with permission. For weeks, I moved through each room like a curator of my own resurrection. I polished the table where Isaiah used to count his change. I replaced the curtains Marina once called Old Lady Beige with soft blue, Hope's quieter cousin. And I stacked the papers, all of them, neatly in the cabinet labeled proof of living. Then I made a decision that would have made Isaiah laugh. I opened my first public bank account in 30 years, under Ethel M. Carter Enterprises. The young teller blinked. Business or personal? She asked. I smiled. Personal business. It started small, a single Saturday meeting in the church basement. Keisha printed flyers that said, Money in Memory, Financial Awareness for Women Over 50. Below, a picture of marigolds, because even flowers deserve credit for blooming in old soil. At first, only 7 women showed up. Widows, divorcees, retirees who could tell you the price of milk in 1963 but not how to reset an online password. They came with purses full of receipts and hearts full of hesitation. I'm not good with numbers, one said. You survived raising 3 children on 2 incomes. I told her, you're already an accountant, they just didn't pay you. The room laughed. And in that laughter, something unlocked. We talked about scams, power of attorney, credit scores, and what it means to put your name next to your own survival. Every week, the group grew. By month 3, the church couldn't hold us. We moved to the community center, where the chairs squeaked and the air smelled like old confidence coming back. They called me Miss Ethel the Money Lady. I called it ministry. Because it wasn't just about bank accounts. It was about capacity, the kind my daughter tried to measure with a doctor's note. Capacity to think. To choose. To say no with steady grammar. To sign with full light. One afternoon, after class, a woman in a lavender scarf said, I wish I had met you before my niece took over my bills. I smiled. That's why you're here now. You can still write the next line. She nodded, then asked, Do you think people can change? I thought of Marina. Of every argument that tasted like love burning its tongue. Yes, I said, but they have to lose control first. It was around then that Marina came back. Not with papers. With questions. The kind that didn't need lawyers to interpret. She stood at the gate one morning, holding a box of lemon muffins from the bakery that always overcharges. I heard about your classes, she said. The whole town did. You're trending on Facebook. I don't have Facebook, I said. You do now. Geneva made one for you. It's called Financial Faith with Miss Ethel. She smiled, tired, but real. Over 500 followers. Is that good? I asked. She laughed softly. That's influence. I poured coffee for two. She took a seat across from me. Same chair, different posture. No armor this time. Why didn't you tell me you were doing this? She asked. Because you were busy managing the world. I said. I figured you didn't have time for the small print. She looked down. I deserved that. No, I said gently. You deserved better. She swallowed. Mama, I was wrong. I stayed quiet. Silence is sweeter when it's not about defense anymore. I thought protecting you meant controlling you, she said. Turns out, I was protecting the part of me that still wanted your permission. Baby, I said, you've had my permission since the day you opened your eyes. You just kept asking for it with contracts instead of courage. Her laugh broke halfway. You always have a line ready. I had to, I said. Words are cheaper than lawyers. We both laughed then, the kind of laugh that clears rooms and hearts. She sipped her coffee. Can I come to one of your classes? I raised an eyebrow. As a student or a volunteer? She thought about it. Both. Then bring your receipts, I said. We all start there. The next Saturday, Marina came early. She helped stack chairs, set up the projector, hand out pens that wrote smoother than apologies. When the women started arriving, they whispered. Isn't that her daughter? Yes, the one from the hearing. She's helping now? She's helping now. And she did. She listened while I spoke about recognizing manipulation dressed as care. She nodded when I said, sometimes the worst thief is the one who says I just want what's best for you. Her eyes glistened. The women clapped. At the end of class, she asked to speak. Ladies, she said, I'm Marina. I used to think success meant never needing help. Then I realized, power isn't ownership, it's stewardship. My mama taught me that, the hard way. The room stood. I didn't plan to cry, but my tears have terrible timing. She came over, hugged me in front of everyone. It didn't feel performative. It felt returned. Word spread. Banks invited me to speak. Local radio called. The mayor sent a letter of recognition with words that felt like redemption dressed in city stationery. Financial awareness advocate, it said. Isaiah would have loved that. He always said I had a ministry of receipts. Marina helped me start a podcast, small, rough around the edges. She taught me how to hold a mic, how to pause before the point, how to use silence as punctuation. Our first episode was called Capacity is a Love Language. She edited it. I introduced her at the end. My daughter, Marina, who once tried to manage me, now manages the microphones. She laughed off screen, and sometimes the sound. We kept recording. The episodes weren't about revenge. They were about inheritance, not the kind you fight over, the kind you live into. Months later, we hosted our first seminar outside town. 100 women in folding chairs. A banner that said "Own Your Name." Marina was at my side. clipboard in hand, headset on like she was directing a Broadway show. It was beautiful, the symmetry of it, the daughter who once tried to take my house now helping me build rooms for others. During the break, she whispered, "Mama, I met someone." I smiled. "Tell me." "He's kind, patient, a lawyer, don't roll your eyes, who works on elder rights cases. He told me I remind him of his mother." "Is that a compliment?" "I think so." I laughed. "Be sure before you file the paperwork." She nudged me. "Old habits die slowly." "Good," I said. "Let them die in daylight." A few weeks later, I got a letter from Dr. Shelton. Apology typed. Signature handwritten. "You reminded me that capacity isn't just cognition, it's conscience." He enclosed a $100 donation for my seminar fund. I taped that letter inside my cabinet next to Isaiah's note. Two men who learned how to correct themselves. Progress. In duplicate. The day we hit 1,000 followers on Facebook, Geneva threw a financial freedom party with more sweet tea than sense. Marina brought balloons that said thrive. We danced like women who had survived both love and law. That night, when the last guest left, Marina and I sat on the porch. The marigolds were taller now, almost stubbornly bright. She looked at me and said, "Mama, when you stood in court and said, 'Love stops being love when it needs permission slips,' it haunted me." "Good," I said. "A haunting that teaches is called wisdom." "I think I get it now," she whispered. "Love without control feels scary, but it also feels clean." "Clean," I echoed, "like sunlight on old grief." She smiled. "You've turned your pain into curriculum." "I had to," I said, "otherwise it would have turned me into cautionary tale." She looked down at her hands. "You think Daddy would be proud?" I looked at the porch light flickering like memory. He'd be amused. Proud comes later. We sat there in the golden quiet until she said, "You know, I still want to manage something." "What's that?" She took a deep breath. "The scholarship fund Daddy started. For the girls in our church. I want to handle the paperwork. But this time, with supervision." I smiled. "Then let's supervise each other." Weeks later, we launched the Isaiah Carter Women's Fund. Mission: help young women build both faith and finance. Marina ran operations. I handled mentorship. Together, we wrote a clause that made us laugh through tears. All decisions shall be made in sunlight. The first recipient, a shy 19-year-old named Ava, wrote an essay titled Inheritance as a Verb. When she read it aloud, Marina squeezed my hand under the table. One evening, as the sun went down, I found myself back in Isaiah's chair. I opened my ledger, now full of names, not debts. And I realized, the greatest reversal wasn't that I kept the house. It was that I stopped living like I needed to defend it. Control had been replaced by clarity. Fear had become function. Love had evolved into literacy. Marina walked in, holding a fresh stack of applications. "Next round," she said. "You ready?" "I've been ready since before you were born," I said. "You just had to catch up." She laughed. "Looks like I finally did." "Then read the fine print. Baby," I said, "that's where the miracles hide. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But peace is a meal you cook slow. With forgiveness you never have to swallow." The town moved on from our court story the way gossip always does, quickly. But never completely. Every now and then, I'd feel eyes linger a second longer at the grocery store. Like people wanted to ask, "So, did you win?" I'd smile, say, "I didn't play." Because that's what they never understand. I wasn't fighting for victory. I was fighting for vocabulary. The right to name my own peace. The days after the fund launch felt like sunlight learning how to stay. I walked lighter. Talked slower. Laughed easier. I started walking to the church every morning. Not to pray for rescue, but to thank God for letting me outgrow bitterness. That's the secret they don't tell you. Bitterness feels like strength until peace arrives. And you realize strength never needed the armor. One morning, I got a call from Pastor Ellis. He sounded nervous, which was already a victory. "Miss Ethel," he said, "we're hosting the city council breakfast next month. They'd like you to give a short talk, 5 minutes or so, about financial empowerment. You'd be representing our church." I laughed. The same church that once called my daughter a blessing and me a burden? He cleared his throat. "Growth, ma'am. We all in the process." "Process," I repeated. "All right, Pastor, but if I'm speaking, I'll need a microphone that works, and a seat at the main table." He hesitated. "We usually reserve those for city officials." I smiled through the phone. "Then I'll speak standing." He knew better than to argue. "We'll get you a chair, Miss Ethel." Good answer. The morning of the breakfast, I wore a suit Isaiah bought me 20 years ago. Navy with gold trim. He once said, "This color makes you look like a promise someone kept." Marina drove me there, hair tied back, clipboard in hand again. When we walked into the fellowship hall, people stared, not out of gossip this time, but recognition. I took the podium. The mayor, the council, the deacons, all waiting for another polite speech about budgeting and self-care. They didn't get polite. They got precise. "Good morning," I said. "My name is Ethel Carter. A year ago, my own child took me to court because she mistook control for care. But what the devil meant for humiliation, God repurposed into education." A few gasps. I smiled. "See, when they tried to take my house, I built classrooms. When they tried to silence me, I found microphones. And when they questioned my capacity, I turned it into curriculum." The room was quiet the way respect always is before it learns how to clap. Then came the applause, tentative at first, then swelling like a wave that remembered its own power. When I stepped down, the mayor stood and shook my hand. "Mrs. Carter, we could use more programs like yours," he said. I smiled, then stop calling them programs and start calling them priorities. That night, the church newsletter titled it, "Miss Ethel Turns Pain into Policy." Isaiah would have called it poetic justice. Weeks passed, and life kept folding new mercies into old routines. I started mentoring at the local high school, girls who reminded me of Marina before ambition learned how to weaponize itself. One of them, Jasmine, was quiet but sharp. She told me her mama signed a loan she didn't understand. I helped them fix it. When Jasmine hugged me after graduation, she whispered, "You're what survival looks like when it's educated." I laughed. "Child, I'm what paperwork looks like when it finds its backbone." Then came the invitation I didn't expect. A women's conference in Atlanta, titled, "From Scar to Source." They wanted me to speak on resilience. Marina insisted on coming. "Let me handle logistics," she said. "It's your time to rest." Rest? I smiled. "Baby, I've been resting my whole life, just didn't know it was called waiting." The conference was in a hotel ballroom bigger than my entire street. Rows of women in jewel tones, notebooks open like prayers. I took the stage with trembling hands. Not from fear, but memory. I began slow. I used to think survival was about staying alive. Now I know, it's about staying aligned. I told them about the courtroom, about the silence that once protected me, about the letter Isaiah left that taught me to live in sunlight. And finally, about Marina. "She's here today," I said, "front row, my greatest trial, and my greatest triumph. The spotlight found her. She didn't flinch this time. She stood up, clapped through tears. The whole room followed. Not for me, for us. Afterward, a woman from the audience approached me. "Miss Ethel," she said softly, "my daughter hasn't spoken to me in 5 years. Every time I try to reach her, she says I'm toxic. How do you forgive someone who keeps using your love as evidence?" I took her hand. "You don't forgive them for their sake," I said. "You forgive them so you can stop auditioning for peace." She cried, nodded, whispered, "Thank you." And I thought, maybe that's my subtle revenge. To keep being the mirror that shows other women they're still whole. A month later, Pastor Ellis invited me back again, this time, to bless a new scholarship wing named after Isaiah and me. Ethel and Isaiah Carter Center for Women's Finance. It felt too big for my name, too small for the story behind it. When the plaque was unveiled, the pastor said, "Sometimes God lets the wrong people doubt you so the right people can witness your rising." The congregation clapped. Marina squeezed my hand. I didn't cry. I'd already done that work. But that night, alone at home, I allowed myself one tear, not for pain, but for punctuation. A few weeks later, I ran into Dr. Shelton at the pharmacy. He looked older, humbled. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "I heard about the scholarship center. Congratulations." I nodded. "You should come speak at one of our classes." He smiled awkwardly. "Would they listen to me?" I tilted my head. "Depends. You coming as a doctor? Or as a man learning accountability?" He laughed softly. "Fair enough." He looked down, then back up. "You really turned it all around." I smiled. "No, I just stopped spinning." He paused. "You've forgiven your daughter, haven't you?" "Forgiveness is the luxury of people who don't remember," I said. "I remember everything, I just stopped rehearsing it." He nodded slowly. "That's profound." "It's practice," I said. "Profound comes later." Marina came over that night, excited. "Guess what? The fund's been approved for state partnership. We can help twice as many women next year." I hugged her. "Isaiah's smiling somewhere." She grinned. "He's probably saying, 'You finally learned to delegate.'" I said. "And you finally learned to listen." She laughed. "Touché." We stood there, quiet. The house no longer felt haunted. It felt inhabited. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Mama, do you ever wish you'd fought me harder?" I looked at her, grown, graceful, still searching. "No, baby, I wish I'd rested sooner. Because peace taught you better than punishment ever could." She nodded, eyes glassy. "You really don't hate me?" "Hate?" I smiled. "Child, I outgrew that wardrobe." She laughed through tears. "You really are impossible." "No," I said softly, "I'm free." That night, as the porch light flickered again, I wrote a line in my journal. "Revenge is noisy, redemption whispers." I closed the book and poured 2 cups of tea, one for me, one for Isaiah's chair. And when the wind moved through the marigolds outside, I imagined every petal whispering the same word back at me. Enough. Evening always finds its way back to me. Not loud, not urgent. Just steady, like someone who knows the road home without asking for directions. The porch light flickers on before the sky gives permission. It's learned my habits by now. I settle into Isaiah's chair. Tea beside me, notebook open on my lap. Some pages hold numbers, some hold prayers. Lately, I can't tell the difference. Marina's out of town this week, conference in Charlotte. Something about women's leadership and finance. She left early, kissed my cheek. said, "You'll be fine?" I told her, "I was fine before you were born. I'll be fine after." She laughed, but I saw the worry tucked under her professionalism. It's strange watching your child learn care without the costume of control. Stranger still, realizing you can finally accept it. The marigolds sway, golden even in the dim. That's when I hear it, the sound of tires crunching gravel. A car door closing soft. Then footsteps. Lighter than Marina's. Younger. I look up, and there she is, Tasha. My granddaughter. 17, long braids, eyes that belong to both her mama and her mistakes. "Hey, Grandma," she says, shy like confession. "Well, look who found her way past the Wi-Fi," I answer. She laughs, the sound fragile but hopeful. "Can I sit?" "You found the chair yourself. Baby, that's half the invitation." She sits beside me, still in her school uniform, a backpack at her feet. "I didn't call first." "I noticed," I say. "That's how family surprises work. Equal parts love and audacity." She grins. "Mama said you'd say that." She's still quoting me? All the time, like scripture. We both laugh, then silence, gentle but thick. She fidgets with her bracelet. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Ask. I've got more answers than groceries." She bites her lip. "Why didn't you ever move away? After everything that happened?" I sip my tea. Let the steam speak first. "Because leaving doesn't erase anything, baby. It just changes the address of your memory." She nods slow, like the words need a minute to land. "I think Mama's still scared sometimes. Like you're gonna leave her emotionally. She checks your podcast numbers every morning." I smile. "Well, she can stop. The Lord's already subscribed." Tasha giggles, then looks at me differently, not as a child, but as someone studying history up close. "Grandma, do you hate her? For what she did?" The question lands like a feather dipped in fire. Soft, but it burns anyway. I don't answer right away. The wind moves through the marigolds, one petal breaks free, lands on my knee. "Hate is too noisy," I finally say. "I don't live in houses that loud anymore." She frowns. "But didn't it hurt?" "Oh, baby, it did. It hurt like faith does when you pray and nothing happens, until it does. But pain has manners when you teach it some." She blinks fast, like she's memorizing the rhythm. She opens her backpack and pulls out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote something," she says, "for English class. We had to write about legacy." She hands it to me. The paper smells like pencil and nerves. "Legacy," it reads, "isn't what people leave you, it's what they teach you not to repeat." I look up. "You wrote this?" She nods. "Mama helped edit. She cried after we printed it." "That's a good sign," I say. Crying means there's still room left. She sits a little straighter. "Grandma, I want to work with you this summer. The foundation, the classes, I want to learn." I smile. "You sure? It's mostly paperwork and patience." She shrugs. "I got both. Mama says I got your stubborn." "Then you'll do fine," I say. "Just remember, in this house, sunlight's the only supervisor." She laughs. "I like that." We sit for a while, the sky turning the color of old honey. The first fireflies spark like punctuation marks in a story that refuses to end. She leans back. "Grandma, did you and Grandpa ever fight?" I chuckle. "Baby, we disagreed professionally, but we always ended on the same verse." "What verse?" "Love is patient, and when that failed, love is loud enough to apologize." She smiles, that sweet teenage mix of awe and disbelief. "You miss him?" "Every day," I say, "but missing isn't mourning, It's memory with its shoes off. She tilts her head. I like that. You should. You'll quote it one day and forget where you heard it. We both laugh again. A car horn sounds in the distance, the kind of mundane noise that proves life keeps happening. Tasha says softly, Mama told me you used to sit out here and talk to Grandpa's chair. I still do. What do you say? Mostly updates. He's a good listener. Does he answer? Sometimes. In marigolds. In quiet victories. In people showing up unannounced with backpacks. She smiles. Shy again. Guess he told me to come. Guess he did. The porch light hums overhead. Steady now. No flicker. I notice how the evening wraps everything in bronze, our skin. The railings. Even the teacup. There's something holy about this color, like forgiveness painted in sunlight. Tasha says, Grandma, do you ever wonder if Mama regrets it? I exhale. Every day. And every day, I choose not to make her prove it. She nods, tears quietly daring her eyes. I think she's scared you'll stop loving her. I reach out, cup her chin. Baby, I don't stop loving, I just change the language. What do you mean? Sometimes love says I forgive you. Sometimes it says I'm still here. And sometimes, it just sets an extra chair and waits. Her face softens. Like now? Like now. We sit in the slow rhythm of crickets. She leans her head on my shoulder. It's quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after war. When peace isn't theory anymore. After a while, she whispers, Can I ask one more thing? You've already inherited the right. If Grandpa could see us now, what do you think he'd say? I smile at the marigolds swaying in the wind. He'd say, You did good, Ethel, you made peace sound like legacy. Tasha grins through tears. He'd be proud of you. Then we match. I say, because I'm proud of you too. Later that night, after she's gone inside, I stay a little longer. The porch feels full, of ghosts, of grace, of generations that finally learned how to listen. The visitor's chair stays warm where she sat. I trace the outline of her teacup on the table, like proof that healing leaves fingerprints too. I look at the horizon, the last line of gold before night claims its shift, and whisper. Peace. If you're still hungry, there's room for seconds. And somewhere in the dark, I swear I hear Isaiah laugh. The crickets keep singing. The marigolds bow, not from wind, but from wisdom. The porch light stays on. And I realize, it's not guarding the house anymore. It's guiding whoever's still on their way home. Would you forgive? They say the dead leave peace behind. Whoever said that never sat through a will reading with family who came dressed like mourners but smelled like ambition. The lawyer's office had that funeral home quiet, the kind that puts soft hands on your shoulders and tells you to behave. Tall books, low lights, a bowl of mints nobody really wanted. I sat at the end of the mahogany table with a lace handkerchief and Isaiah's wedding band on a chain around my neck. It was the only jewelry that didn't feel loud. My daughter arrived late, Marina, heels too bright for a day like that. Perfume too sweet for grief. She kissed the air next to my face and called me mama like the word had 3 meanings. Traffic, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. Her nails glowed the color of new danger. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Ethel Carter, Ms. Marina Carter, thank you for coming. My condolences. Truly. He placed a thick envelope on the table. The kind that holds more than paper. Mr. Isaiah Carter updated his will 3 times. This, he tapped the envelope, is the most recent. I held the handkerchief tighter. The fabric remembered my tears before I did. He read slowly, like he didn't want the words to bruise. Isaiah left the house to me, a red brick place with the peeling porch and the marigolds that refused to die. The savings account, to be divided in thirds, me, our church scholarship fund, and a trust for Marina's daughter when she turned 21. The pickup truck to the deacon who kept fixing it for free. Isaiah always paid kindness with dignity. Marina's smile didn't crack, not at first. She crossed her legs, leaned back, and waited for something I knew she'd been told to expect. It didn't come. Is that all? She asked. Voice sugar on glass. No changes after the hospital? The hospital? The lawyer asked. Marina turned to me, eyes soft like a sermon. Daddy and I talked. He said he wanted me to handle the finances. You know, after the scare. He told me he didn't want you burdened with paperwork. Mama, he promised. My fingers found the ring at my throat. Your father made promises to me in daylight. Baby, he didn't hide them in midnight whispers. Her mouth hardened. The lawyer flipped pages, frowning. I have no copy of that update. There was an email, Marina said quickly. He sent it, a draft, to be notarized later. The lawyer folded his hands. If you can produce it, we can review intent, but only a signed, witnessed document, you understand. She stared at me, then at the envelope, and for the first time I saw the fear under her foundation. It pulsed. It glared. It said she had already told somebody else a different story and the room wouldn't cooperate. We left in separate cars. The sky looked like it wanted to rain but had manners. On the way home I drove slow past the church. Past the corner where Isaiah used to buy peaches from the man who sold hope out of a truck bed. Past the school where Marina once won a spelling bee and cried because her ribbon was blue instead of gold. She always wanted the version of things that glinted. When I pulled into our driveway, the porch light clicked on by itself. Isaiah had wired it that way, so the house remembers you. He said. Inside, I placed the will next to his Bible and set a plate at the table like he might still come through the back door covered in sawdust and gospel. Before I could sit, my phone rang. The number was unknown but the voice was familiar, the lawyer's assistant. A woman whose kindness lived in her consonants. Mrs. Carter. I'm so sorry to bother you. We received an email just now from a draft updates folder sent from Mr. Carter's account 2 months ago. It suggests intent to shift the house to a living trust managed by Ms. Marina until your capacity is evaluated. I swallowed something sour. Capacity, I said. That's a pretty word with bad manners. It's not binding, she rushed to add. It wasn't notarized. But Ms. Marina forwarded it with a note that she would bring supporting documentation tomorrow. Documentation, I echoed. Tell me, what does a good daughter need to prove that a mother can't be a mother anymore? Silence on the line. Then, softly, we'll wait for your counsel to review anything that comes in. After I hung up, the house listened to me breathe. The fridge hummed old hymns. The clock on the wall ticked like a heart that refused to sync to anyone else's rhythm. I walked to Isaiah's chair and sat, folding into the spot where his weight used to live. I let the quiet have me until my hands stopped shaking. Then I went looking for paper. Isaiah kept a file labeled, "For Ethel on a Bad Day." Inside, receipts, notes, photocopies of things nobody ever asks for until they do. On top lay a letter in his steady block script. If grief makes you forget, this will help you remember. 1. Never sign your name where someone else wrote the sentence. 2. Capacity is a word men use when they want custody over your life. 3. We made our decisions in sunlight. Below it was a photocopy of a power of attorney revocation we'd filed the year our neighbor tried to get me to co-sign her loan at the nail salon. I had forgotten the way the notary smiled at me like I was a woman who'd already learned the hard lesson. Maybe I was. The doorbell rang. I knew it was my daughter before I knew I was ready. Marina came in and didn't sit. Her eyes moved around our living room like it was a store and she was inventorying what she'd return for later. Mama, she said, we need to talk. Talk, I said. She exhaled. I didn't want it to be this way. But Daddy promised. He told me the plan. He didn't want you to worry about bills. He wanted me to manage things. He wanted you to manage him once, too. I said, when you were 15 and wanted to go to that party the day before your finals. He said no. Remember what you did? Her jaw flexed. The memory flashed behind her eyes like lightning with a grudge. At 15, she had cried until the house felt soaked. At midnight, she had sneaked out anyway. At 2 in the morning, I found her on the curb shaking. Mascara a bruise. I wrapped her in my coat and told her the world would not eat her if I had breath. When we got home, Isaiah didn't yell. He sat at the table with his Bible and his disappointment and asked her if her choices still felt like freedom. She didn't answer then. She didn't answer now. Mama, she tried again. I have emails, drafts. There's a capacity statement from Dr. Shelton, he said after your fainting spells. We should consider safeguards. Daddy agreed. Dr. Shelton sees me twice a year and listens to his watch tick while I tell him about marigolds. I said, he prescribes vitamins and calls it care. He didn't test my mind. If he signed something, he sold his pen. Her voice sharpened. This isn't personal, it's practical. Personal is how you get the house key. I said, practical is how you lock the door. Something like pity softened her mouth. Mama, you're tired. I can see it. Let me handle this. Let me handle you. I stood, slow. Old bones can be quiet and still throw their weight. Baby, I birthed you through a contraction that lasted 3 hours and a prayer. I handled you when your fear was louder than your wisdom. Don't call me something you can own. Her eyes flashed wet, then cold. You never believed in me. I believed in the parts of you that were true. I said, I still do. She laughed, short, mean, afraid. You still think truth is a person. It's paperwork, Mama. The ring at my throat warmed under my fingers. Then let's get to the paperwork. Bring your emails, bring your doctor, bring your God. If he answers that kind of thing, I'll bring daylight. She stepped back, hurt clouding into insult. You would fight me? After everything I did for you? Tell me what you did. I said, voice low. Say it out loud so it turns into air. She looked away. I made sure the bills got paid. You used my account to pay your rent. I checked on you. You checked on the deed. I loved Daddy. You loved the version of him that wrote you checks. Her face broke then. Not the soft kind. The kind that rebuilds as something harder. I'm not the villain here. She whispered. I was the one he trusted. Your father trusted me to remember him when he forgot himself. I said, I am doing that now. She picked up her purse. The lawyer will call. I'll bring the documents. Do. I said, I've been collecting my own. After she left, I stood in the doorway and breathed her perfume until it faded enough to let mine back in. Then I went to work. I called Keisha, because a woman like me always has a Keisha, a friend who knows the county clerk and the church births and the way to say things that open doors. I called our deacon, because his brother worked at the bank and owed Isaiah 2 favors and a secret. I called Louise, because she has a memory built like a ledger. Finally, I called the lawyer's assistant and said, when my daughter comes with papers, I want a chair at that table and a pen that works. Night brought a stack of clouds and the click of my front porch light turning itself off. I sat with Isaiah's file and pulled out a battered manila envelope I had labeled worth saving and never opened. Inside were things I had promised to keep. 8-year-old Marina's Mother's Day card that spelled, hero, with 3 E-S. A photograph of her and Isaiah asleep on the couch with the game still whispering in the background. A detention slip where she refused to name the boy who threw gum in her hair. Stubborn saves us and ruins us. It's just a matter of who's keeping score. At the bottom, folded tight as a secret, lay a note in Isaiah's block letters. If Ethel is reading this, I didn't get to finish saying it. Marina is you in the mirror that forgets to call itself beautiful. She wants the right things in the wrong order. Hold her accountable like love taught you, not like fear taught you. And if she ever comes for the house, remember, it's not walls she wants. It's permission to be the story. Don't let her steal the part where you are still alive. I pressed that paper to my mouth. Salt tastes like yesterday when it's fresh. Morning didn't knock. It just walked in wearing the same clothes as last night. The lawyer's office called at 9:07. Mrs. Carter, Ms. Marina has provided a capacity letter, unsigned drafts, and a proposed trust agreement naming her as trustee for your primary residence. She has asked for emergency relief, temporary management pending review. We have set a meeting for noon. I wore the dove brooch. I brought the revocation. I brought Isaiah's note because sometimes paper is more than proof. It's prayer dressed as ink. Marina was already there, hands folded, hair perfect, grief arranged. The lawyer nodded, tired of being the room where love turns into litigation. We'll be brief, he said. Ms. Marina, your documents? She slid them across. A doctor's letter with language that looked professional until you remembered to read it. Mild cognitive concerns. It said, recommend supervised finances. No test numbers. No dates that matched my body. The email thread glowed. An intent to amend, written like a promise and signed like a suggestion. My turn. I placed the revocation down like a quiet hammer. The lawyer read, eyebrows lifting. This is decisive. Sunlight, I said. Filed, stamped, dated. Marina's voice climbed. Mama, why are you doing this? I'm your daughter. You are, I said, and I am your mother. Two things can stay true and still not make a trust. She turned to the lawyer. Emergency relief. She is emotional. She's not thinking clearly. If we wait, bills will go unpaid. I have 3 autopays and a ledger by the phone. I said, show me the bill you mean or stop using the plural like the truth lives there. The lawyer leaned back. Ms. Marina, without a signed update or a court order. Your request is premature. She lost it then, not loudly. Quietly enough to be dangerous. So what do you want me to do? Wait until she falls? Until the lights get cut off? I've carried this family. He wanted me to carry it after he left. I could have met that fire with my own. I didn't. I picked up Isaiah's note and slid it toward her. She didn't take it. He wrote me letters too. She said, chin high. I know, I said. I found them in my house. Her cheeks flushed. That told me what I needed. The lawyer cleared his throat. I will decline to act on the draft. If you wish to petition the court for guardianship, that is your right, but be aware, your mother appears, prepared. Prepared, I repeated softly. Prepared is what a woman becomes when she learns the cost of being believed only after the paperwork is neat. I stood. We're done here. In the hallway, Marina caught my arm. Mama, she said, voice all ache, I'm scared. I turned. Mothers know the difference between manipulation and a prayer. A prayer looks you in the eye and doesn't blink. This one did, but still, it was my child's voice. Of what? Of being left with nothing. She said, of waking up and realizing nobody planned for me. You were not a surprise. I said, we planned for you so well the house forgot how to be empty. You learn to take before you learn to ask. That's not planning. That's theft with manners. She let go. I'll go to court. I'll bring chairs. I said, one for me, one for you, one for the truth. She laughed. Broken. You always need the last word. No, I said, walking away. I need the right one. When I reached the parking lot, the sky finally decided to rain. Not hard, persistent, like a truth that refuses to leave your porch. I didn't run. I walked slow, letting it say what it needed to say. By the time I reached my car, I had written my answer in my head. It wasn't a speech. It was a list. Bank statements. Pharmacy records. A calendar of every day I paid my own light bill. The grocery clerk who calls me by name. The deacon who fixed the truck. The neighbor who watched me plant marigolds without supervision. The Bible with Isaiah's fingerprints hiding in the margins. Let Marina bring her doctor. I would bring my life. When I got home, the porch light clicked on again, welcoming me like a dog that never learned how to doubt. I sat in Isaiah's chair, pulled his ring against my chin, and said the quiet out loud, Lord, I am not asking for victory. I am asking for visibility. Let me be seen in the sunlight, not defined in the shadows. And when my daughter looks at me across that table, let her see more than a key. The wind moved through the marigolds, slow as a nod. The house breathed with me. Somewhere in the kitchen, a pipe groaned like an old man disagreeing softly. I closed my eyes and saw Marina at 8, running through the sprinkler, hair stuck to her forehead, mouth wide with laughter. I saw her at 15, mascara bruised. I saw her last night, with documents like weapons, and I saw her tomorrow, in a courtroom where love and law would try to shake hands without flinching. They say the dead leave peace behind. Isaiah didn't. He left me a map. And I intend to use it. People say the wound began at the will reading. They don't know how blood works. It doesn't start at the cut, it starts where the body was already thin. Marina came into this world loud and luminous, the way some babies arrive like announcements. Isaiah cried before I did. He held her up to the morning light like a tithe. Look at her, he whispered, voice shaking. God gave us a trumpet. A trumpet is a blessing until you try to sleep. By 2, she wanted every room to know her name. By 8, she wanted every prize to belong to it. By 15, she wanted every rule to bend when it bowed to her brilliance. I remember the phone call that changed the way I stood in my own kitchen. The school counselor, voice stiff with liability. Mrs. Carter, we have an incident. I drove there in a storm so hard the wipers sounded like a warning. They led me to a small room with an ugly clock. Marina sat in the corner wrapped in a silver thermal blanket like a miracle someone forgot to add instructions to. Her mascara had become a bruise again. I touched her hair and it crackled under my palm. They said there was a party. Alcohol. A senior boy with confidence and a new car. A video that traveled faster than shame. They said she had skipped the final review session to be adored. I wanted to yell. I wanted to pray. I wanted to rewind her to 5 when all her disasters fit in a sandbox. The counselor said the school would handle it internally if we agreed to silence. Silence. Such a tidy word for a room full of echoes. I took Marina home. I turned off the porch light Isaiah had wired and sat with my daughter in the dark. She would not look at me. That's the problem with mirrors, they crack when they have to tell the truth. Baby, I said, did you say yes the whole time? She was small then, smaller than her body, smaller than her voice. I said yes until I didn't know how. I held her till the blanket warmed with our breathing. I told her it was not her fault to want to be loved. I told her it was her fault to mistake attention for love. Isaiah came in later, face carved in quiet. He didn't say the boy's name, he said our daughter's. He sat across from her and said, your life ain't a stage. Baby, it's a house. Don't invite storms for applause. We didn't send her back to school that week. We sued no one and threatened everyone. We asked the video to die and it did not. We learned the speed of rumor and the endurance of pixels. We taught Marina to walk into rooms like she had already forgiven them for being cruel. She learned. She also learned how a clean corridor could be bought with the right donation. We paid for image counseling, Lord. Even that had a glossy brochure. We kept records. We prayed into our carpet. And on a Tuesday with no weather, we understood a permanent thing. Our daughter was building armor out of every compliment. Armor is heavy. You can't hug a child wrapped in iron without cutting your own arms. The first time I saw Control slip into love and start wearing its clothes was the night she asked for a new phone. Not the phone itself. Anybody can want a thing. It was the way she wanted the world delivered through it. Everyone has the new one, she said. The camera is better. Opportunities too. Opportunities don't live in lenses. I told her, they live in discipline. She rolled her eyes. That teenage curl of contempt that tastes like metal in a mother's mouth. Dad understands what I need. Isaiah did understand. He also remembered the bill. We can split it, he said softly. Half from us, half from you. Work study at Ms. Roberta's daycare on Saturdays. Marina looked wounded, like he'd asked her to turn down oxygen. You think I'm a child? He reached across the table, set his hand over hers. I think you're an instrument. And instruments need tuning. She worked 2 Saturdays. On the third, she posted a photo from a rooftop bar she wasn't old enough to name with her address. Glory is a drug that comes in likes. Years folded like napkins. She got into college, praised in a gown she called humble in the front, future in the back. She studied communications, Lord, didn't she already, and learned how to write sentences that closed deals. She made internships appear like rain in a drought. She met men who admired her ambition until they felt it touching their own. She came home with stories that were punchlines and miracles and invoices. Isaiah's health began to tick like a slow metronome. He promised he was fine. He was not. The day he fell in the garage, the socket wrench landed next to his hand like punctuation. He woke in the hospital smiling like he hated to make a scene. Marina arrived with flowers and a laptop. Daddy, she said, let me clean up your email. He laughed. Which part, the sales or the prayers? Both, she said, and I watched him hand over his password like a blessing. She replied to everyone with charm that cost nothing. She copied me when it did. Somewhere between, get well soon, and, please sign here. She learned how easy it is to shepherd a man's life with a soft tone and a quick button. When he came home, weaker, he put his signature under a lot of things that had my name in them. He always told me first. He always explained. He always asked if it sounded like us. But on the nights he fell asleep with his phone on his chest. There were messages I didn't read. People think trust is not looking. Sometimes trust is looking and deciding to stay anyway. Isaiah passed on a morning that had the nerve to be pretty. Marina flew in, fierce and immaculate. She handled the obituary like a press release. She chose his tie with reverence and framed her grief with perfect eyeliner. She cried into microphones at the church and charmed the deacons and tilted her sorrow so the cameras caught the right light. I loved her. I was terrified of her. The trumpet had learned how to sell tickets. After the funeral, the pastor spoke over my hair like I wasn't there. Sister Ethel, the church is here to help administer Isaiah's legacy. Marina will be a blessing in that process. I smiled so politely my teeth remembered it. Pastor, blessings don't need management. He chuckled. Marina didn't. When the first mortgage solicitation came, a predatory thing dressed in rich vocabulary, Marina called me before I read it. Mama, throw that away. I have a better offer. A friend manages trusts. We can move the house into a vehicle. A vehicle? I said. Does it come with a steering wheel that listens to me? She sighed. This is why nobody can help you. Baby, I said, people can help me, they just can't own me. She hung up and called back 10 minutes later like she had put a ribbon on condescension. Sorry, she said, I'm just trying to protect you. Protect. Another word that wears two faces. The fainting spells started on ordinary errands. A grocery aisle, the church steps, a night when the marigolds looked too bright and the porch felt like a confession. Dr. Shelton was gentle, forgettable, the kind of man who thinks good bedside manner is a haircut. He checked my blood and not my life. He asked if I was anxious and prescribed a prayer a pill could imitate. We'll keep an eye on capacity, he said, like he was putting a sticky note on my soul. Capacity. He said it like a future weather report. Months later, I found out Marina had taken him to lunch. We just discussed aging. She told me, he worries about you too. I asked Dr. Shelton at my next appointment. He smiled and said, your daughter loves you very much. Love, I said, is not a lab coat. He printed a referral to a neurologist and wrote, monitor, in his notes. The neurologist looked at me, ran tests, and said, you score high, keep walking, keep reading, keep saying no to what makes you small. I taped that note inside my pantry door. The day Marina forwarded that capacity letter to the lawyer, I visited Dr. Shelton with Isaiah's ring on a chain and my ledger in a tote bag. I asked him to read the letter out loud to me so he could hear his own voice sell me. He removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes like ethics lived there. Mrs. Carter, he began. It's clinical language. It gives flexibility. It doesn't declare incompetence. It declared convenience. I said, for whom? He looked at the floor. Your daughter's concerned. So am I said. About your pen. He folded his hands. Would you like me to retract? Retract? I tasted the word. No. I'd like you to rewrite it in sunlight. With dates. With test numbers. With the name of the woman whose brain you measured using a conversation about cereal. He nodded. I'll revise. Do it today, I said, because tomorrow I bring your letter to a courtroom and let a bench decide what your appointment couldn't. There are men who listen when a woman modulates her volume. He was one. The amended letter arrived to the lawyer's office the next morning with language that could survive daylight. No evidence of cognitive impairment. It said, recommend standard financial safeguards for elder adults. No third-party control without court oversight. Court oversight. I liked the taste of that. Oversight meant chairs. That afternoon, I found a second letter in Isaiah's file I hadn't noticed before, folded under a brochure for lake property we never bought. In his block letters. Ethel, if I'm gone and the house feels heavier, remember this. I loved you in paper and in breath. The paper is for the men. The breath is for you. If Marina uses paper, use breath first. Tell her you see her. Tell her she is not the scandal that tried to write her. Tell her image is not inheritance. But if she keeps choosing paper, bring yours. Bring the old ones, the ones stamped and witnessed. Live in the house while you defend it. Don't become a ghost to keep a deed. I sat with that and sobbed without making noise. Grief is polite when you are not alone. A week before the next meeting, Marina texted, we don't need to fight. Let me manage while you rest. Daddy wanted it this way. I answered with a photograph. Me in my garden. Dirt under nails. Isaiah's ring shining at my throat. The neurologist's note in the corner like a caption. No evidence of cognitive impairment. She didn't respond. Silence is also a sentence. The circle came by with lemonade and gossip turned into prayer. They sat in my living room and reminded me where my spine was. Geneva said, men call it guardianship when control needs lipstick. Louise said, bring receipts. Keisha said, bring witnesses who know how you live. Your pharmacist, your mailman, the neighbor boy who mows your lawn and takes cash because Venmo makes him itchy. I wrote a list. I pressed it under the magnet on the fridge that says God did it because sometimes God does it and sometimes God sends 3 women with spare time and lethal clarity. The night before the hearing, I dreamed of Marina at 5, hoarding plastic crowns, lining them up and assigning them days of the week. She wore all 7 at once and walked into the yard like a parade. Isaiah took a picture and called it royalty in rehearsal. Some children grow out of dress up. Some monetize it. Morning arrived with a sky that looked clean. I woke before it and set the table like Isaiah would be late but coming. I placed the will next to his Bible and the doctor's amended letter on top of my ledger. I packed everything into a folder marked house. Then crossed it out and wrote name. When I reached the lawyer's office, Marina was already there. Her hair was still perfect but her hands were not. They trembled. That tremble almost undid me. It looked like 15 in a silver blanket. It looked like a girl who thought video meant destiny. I sat beside her and said the truth even if it cost me later. Baby, I see you. I know you've been fighting to be the version of yourself you can live with. You don't have to steal to keep her. She closed her eyes, then handed it to me. No, I said, that lesson lives somewhere else. You'll have to walk to it. She opened her eyes, and for a breath, we were in the same hallway. Then the door opened, and the room asked us to define ourselves again. They tried to make it about competence. I made it about consent. They tried to talk about risk. I talked about record. They tried to describe intention. I read Isaiah's ink like scripture. When it was over, the lawyer didn't smile. Men who watch women argue inheritance rarely do. He said the court would decide on guardianship if Marina filed. And at that, my daughter lifted her chin like a flag. I will, she said. I'll bring chairs, I said. One for me, one for you, one for the neurologist, and one for God, because he's been here longer than both of us. On the way out, a nurse from my clinic brushed my arm. Mrs. Carter, she whispered, I heard. If you need me to testify how you correct me every time I mispronounce hydrochlorothiazide, I will. I laughed in the hallway like a woman who still owned her lungs. At home, the porch light clicked on before sunset like it couldn't wait anymore. I sat in Isaiah's chair and felt the house breathe with me. Not for me. I read his letter aloud until the words knew the room again. Then I wrote my own on the back. For Marina, for the court, for whatever comes. I am not fragile, I am practiced. I am not confused, I am consistent. I am not alone, I am witnessed. Let the record show I love my daughter without selling her my name. Let the sunlight find us both. And when the wind moved through the marigolds, I heard it, the soft applause of flowers that refused to die just because last season tried to bury them.